It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming at you for that Monday night boxing recap known as the Shoe Shine. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Drew Evil. ¿Qué pasa, homie? Yeah, I hope everybody had a great week, guys. And thanks a lot to everybody that's been reaching out to see how I've been keeping up, man. I'm feeling a lot better this week, and hopefully things will get back into swing. Drew, I gotta ask you, bro, our numbers didn't look that great last week, and I'm wondering if it's because we were a day off, Monday to Tuesday. But also, I'm starting to wonder, Drew, if this vertical thing is all a bunch of horse shit. Because at first I noticed, oh, wow, we're getting rewarded with a lot of good views. But all of a sudden, they're not rewarding us with good views numbers. So I'm sure that there's a lot of old school people in our chat. In fact, I see our homeboy Nando Lamas has been riding with the Shoe Shine from the beginning. If you're tired of the vertical stream, send me a message. Let me know, because I'm about ready to go back to the old school way, getting guests on and bringing back that phone line too. As a matter of fact, I gotta get back. We gotta get back to the old ways, Drew. F the numbers, man. Let's put on a good show.
This is all people don't call and put me to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, it's going to be hot as shit this week, Drew. I don't know if you guys are suffering from a heat wave, but shout out to everybody that's going to be dealing with a heat wave this week, whether you're on the West Coast, East Coast, or whatever. It's going to be, Drew, 117 degrees on Friday for me here in Las Vegas, Drew.
It's actually calmed down over there.
I don't know why anybody would come to Las Vegas in the middle of July, but there are some really good fights coming up. In fact, I'm going to be going to one at Top Rank at the Palms in July. Our good friend of the show from Salinas, Ruben Villa, will be on that card, as well as the Janet back will be the main event. But I mean, I don't know how y'all like my second summer in Las Vegas, Drew. I'm like, damn, I need to get the F out of town. I need to get out of here. That's what I need to do. But shout out to everybody just joining us. Make sure you hit that like button as you come in. Make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell so you know when the Shoe Shine is on. Drew, there were some really good fights. I had a good time watching boxing this weekend. You know, I stayed low key. I stayed off the Twitter, really, you know, but I was watching everything. Especially, let's get off to some hot news, and then we'll move on to Friday night. Pro Box did a really good card because they had a championship fight on. They had Lamont Roach defending his 130-pound title on Pro Box on YouTube for free. I love that shit, but there's something that's bothering me right now, Drew. Like I mentioned, I got sick. I think I got COVID on Wednesday, the day of the Tank Davis fight, when I went out there for media day to watch them work out. I think I got it at the MGM that Wednesday. And the numbers for that fight, first of all, the numbers for me going to the public open weight, I always wonder, why do I put myself through that bullshit? Why do I even go when I know you guys are just going to watch it on PBC's website or on their YouTube page? But Drew, nonetheless, I think I got sick that day, and the numbers for the pay-per-view are awful. I don't care which way you slice it or dice it. If you believe Dan Rafael, formerly of ESPN today, his numbers came out, and they're heavily disputed by Rick Glazer. Someone Drew Evil loves mentioning on this show, Rick Glazer. So, Drew, I'll put up the numbers, and I need to know what's Drew's take, because, first of all, this wasn't just Tank. It featured David Benavidez, the Mexican Monster, and these numbers are freaking pathetic. These are awful pay-per-view numbers.
You know what? I think Rick, he really over exaggerates with the hate. Like he's the most negative person in boxing. Like it's a shame. Because he's a bitter old man that fucking bought a lot of his bridges with people in the sport and everything. But let's look at it like this. I don't think it did 325 or 350. No way. From what I'm hearing, it did 170, 175.
Okay, I saw that posted too. I think Mike Coppinger's in on it, Dan Raphael's in on it, and of course then we have Rick Laser, a trusted source as well.
But I tell people this right now: as long as you're allowed to have the Fire Stick, the illegal streams and everything, and they're charging $85 to watch a fight, then they're not going to clean off. And Tank, tell you the truth, Tank really fought Frank Martin. And tell you the truth, not a lot of people know who the fuck Frank Martin is. He's really, this was his Frank Martin step up. And David Benavidez moved up to light heavyweight and was going to have a showcase, but he looked like shit. And there was a couple of upsets. Gary Antry was losing and Elijah Garcia losing. So, and Carlos Adonis looked like shit too. So,
shout out to Nerd who's joining us in the chat. He says the age of high pay-per-view numbers is dead and gone. And I happen to agree with your sentiment, Nerd. I highly agree that those days are long gone. The problem is that it was just yesterday that Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia together pulled reportedly over 1 million pay-per-views. And that's what if you've been watching boxing since the 90s and 2000s, that was standard fare for Oscar De La Hoya. That was standard fare for the great Floyd Mayweather. We were just used to, a 1 million people, 2 million, and all of a sudden Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight, which was about 18 months ago or close to 2 years now, but that did more than 1 million views. And everybody seems to think Tank can create these numbers on his own with whoever he's fighting. That's not the case at all, right? It's just not the case. And where's the numbers, Drew? Where are the numbers for the Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia? If Ryan Garcia is the 1 million plus pay-per-view fighter, why haven't I seen those numbers being released? Where are those numbers?
I don't think that fight did well either. Let's look at it like this, Dave. Devin Haney isn't a draw. Tank Davis isn't as big as a draw as people think he is, because he can't draw with a bum or somebody that they don't know. People don't know who the fuck he is and everything. Right.
No disrespect to what's his face? I already forgot his name. I like the guy too. I like Frank Martin. I've seen Frank Martin fight twice in person. He's not a bum, but he's a guy that got started late in his career. Got a very late start professionally.
It looks like that. It really looks like, and then Benavidez, he ain't a draw either. So if we look at it like this, it's just the market's not there, and people are always going to say, Tank, that you got dumbass people say that pay-per-view did 500K. No, the fuck it didn't. And I tell these people, if you can't give me some type of proof or something, reliable fucking proof, then don't say shit and you're a fucking idiot. But I look at it like this: Tank Davis is not really that big of a draw when it comes to pay-per-view. Now the gate, that's a different story. He does fill arenas, but pay-per-views, nobody's gonna pay to watch him fight bums on pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's someone I respect on Twitter quite a bit. He goes to all the big fights, Drew, and he even mentioned, the ticket prices for that Gervonta Tank Davis. Eventually they brought him down to I think $300 and $400, and he did the simple math, and he was like, these gate numbers that they put up for the MGM Grand with all the comps that PBC does, and by the way, PBC has never comped me one ticket. There's no way they could even come up with that gate number that they were posting on social media. So even that gate number for Tank Davis might be inflated. And I happen to agree with you. If the tickets are starting at $300, I don't know. I saw something like 18 million at the gate. It ain't possible. Ain't possible. Like the guy said, the tickets would have averaged $1,000. And with all the comps, it just seems like this shit is all inflated. Shout out to everybody joining us. By the way, Drew Nando says that the Pitbull Cruz fight in LA, it's not selling quite as well as he's got tickets to that, I believe. And
no, it's not.
It's not selling what they expected. I'm shocked to hear that.
Here's the thing. Magomed, the guy Crawford's fighting, he's not known in the United States and everything. Pitbull Cruz, he's not that much of a draw either. And I'm like, yeah, he's a crowd pleasing style and everything, but he's not the draw people think he is. And especially you got him fighting Venezuela and everything. A guy that lost twice already, a guy that is predicted to be stopped within the first 7 rounds of the fight with Pitbull and everything. The guy's moving up from 135.
You talking about Rayo?
Yeah, and then if you look at it, the rest of the card, yeah, you got Jared Anderson, but his opponent's really an unknown. You got Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Like, Jarrell Big Baby Miller lost his last fight. Andy Ruiz hasn't really fought since Chris Arreola fight and everything. It's really, I think the card would have sold more if the Verger versus Tim Tszyu fight was still on. But
yeah, it was looking like it looked like a super stacked card. And we're talking about that August 3rd card. Obviously, Virgil Ortiz, with the injury Tim Tszyu sustained, that fight had to be called off the roster. Nonetheless, it looks like a great card, and it's coming up in just 2 months, Drew. I've been watching videos of that guy that's going to fight Terrence Crawford, Magomedov. He's a beast. I mean, he's a beast. It's not going to be a cakewalk moving up in weight for Terrence Crawford. It's not going to be a cakewalk.
But here's the thing. He's not known in the United States.
Right. He won his title.
But if you look at it like this, like, the ticket prices are too much, and they look at it and say, yo, who the fuck this guy is? And everything, maybe they're going to have to wind up, I think they're going to wind up putting the prices down a little bit to get people to go because, or
they need to step up the promotions. They need to step up the press tour.
I think the promotion could be a lot better than what it was. I think that I think they should do like a promotional deal, like, hey, you buy tickets to this, we'll give you a certain percentage off the Virgil Ortiz fight and everything, which I think will be a good thing. He should have been kept on the card. That Baranchek fight should have been on the card.
Yeah.
Still too and everything. But I just really I kind of knew that the ticket sales would not be that really talked about in a positive manner and everything. But this is the first American card that he's thrown, so he's gotta see what his mistakes were and everything. And he's probably going to have to put a better main event on the next time if he decides to do another promotion.
Yeah, Drew, speaking of poor ticket sales, Teofimo Lopez, I happened to watch him fight. Was the Super Bowl weekend. That was the Jermaine Ortiz fight. Ticket sales weren't that bad for that fight, but the performance left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And word is reportedly he's like, I got to get out of Vegas and fight somewhere that might be a little bit more friendly to me, to Teofimo. So he picked Miami, and tickets were still on sale up until just a couple days before the fight for $25 in Miami to see Teofimo Lopez fight. Yikes. We're going to get to that in just shortly, too, guys. We're going to rate who won the weekend. Lamont Roach, was it Bam Rodriguez, obviously now breaking out to be a top 10 pay-per-view type fighter. Not pay-per-view fighter, pound-for-pound fighter. And, of course, Teofimo Lopez, who for a very long time thinks he's a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. All right, Drew, let's get right into that weekend like I mentioned. Actually, there's one more thing I want to bring up. I'm talking about Las Vegas, guys. You guys know that the UFC, and we were just talking about that fight, the Saudi card, Riyadh season's coming to Los Angeles, but Dana White's working with him as well, Drew. He's working with His Excellency, and it's a done deal for September 14th, which is Mexican Independence Day. This is going to happen, and they are targeting the Mexican community big time. UFC, I've been seeing all kinds of press on social media, on YouTube. Dana White is really coming for the Mexican fan base, combat sports fan base. Noche de UFC, September 14th, Riyadh season right here in Las Vegas. And, you know, last time we did a show, I said that I saw Canelo Alvarez had posted on Instagram saying, my mind might be changing. And he was in an airplane and he was flying, and everybody's left scratching their head. Are you talking about fighting David Benavidez? Because the truth of it is, Eddie Hearn came out today and said, listen, it only makes sense. The only person left is Edgar Berlanga, is my guy, Edgar Berlanga. If they don't come up with an opponent soon, it looks very likely like Canelo will not be fighting on Mexican Independence Day. It looks, or if he does, he may not fight in Las Vegas. He might go to Texas. He might even take up what they're saying reportedly is an offer to fight Edgar Berlanga in New York City to avoid this. But we've seen this before. We've seen Canelo go toe-to-toe against the UFC, and all I can remember was Canelo taking a nap, waiting to fight Sergey Kovalev, waiting for the UFC main event to finish. Remember that? Remember Canelo sleeping on the couch at T-Mobile?
I look at it like this. I think it would be a huge mistake if he fights Edgar Berlanga on the same weekend as this UFC event. The only way he's going to be able to compete with them if he fights David Benavidez. They already made an agreement for William Score to step aside and everything. It's time to fight David Benavidez. It's David Benavidez. Oh, you're just, because if he fights on that day, the same day as that UFC event, and he fight Edgar Berlanga, that pay-per-view does 150, maybe lower.
I got a question, Drew. Canelo's not. He's got his own promotions company. He's got no long-term agreement, does he? Does he have a long-term agreement right now?
He has
Amazon?
one more fight. He has one more fight left
with Amazon
on that PBC deal.
Damn.
And that's
that
the
sucks.
thing.
That sucks.
I think if Al was really trying to compete with the UFC like Canelo would be, I would go up to Canelo and say, hey, I think you're going to need to fight David Benavidez or us. Yeah. You can't fight this weekend.
Yeah, shout out to Nerd. He says Ryan versus Teofimo does do big numbers, though. And we're going to get to Teofimo because he's in a conundrum with the 140-pound division being shaken up so much that he needs a dance partner. And I'm glad I'm hearing that there's murmurs about him versus Pitbull Cruz. That is, if Pitbull Cruz gets past El Rayo Valenzuela, guys. I think highly of El Rayo. I know that he's been knocked down and hurt and knocked out, or potentially, I forget if he was knocked out, but I mean, he always comes to fight, man. And his preparation at Robert Garcia's camp has been very deep this camp. I got good faith he's going to put up a hell of a fight against Pitbull Cruz. I don't know what the outcome is, but we'll get to that in just a moment, Drew. I want to get to Lamont Roach Jr. because this weekend we're going to see the other 130-pound champion that I'm really fond of, and that's O'Shaquie Foster. But Lamont Roach fought an Irishman, Drew. And me and my wife both said, God damn, this guy is not on the level of Lamont Roach, but man, did he come with an undefeated record, undefeated mindset. He came to fight. And before that, we were treated to this Guatemalan guy. Guys, there's a 168 prospect. I think he's now on the verge of being a contender. He's from Guatemala. Is it Lester Martinez? And he was on that co-main. Very impressed. I was very impressed, Drew. This guy's got a damn deep skill set. He can crack. He's 5'11". He's strong as an ox. And in Gora's a guy that fought Christian Mbili. Christian Mbili is going to be fighting Sergey Derevchenko. Christian Mbili is that Canadian, what is it? He was a medalist. I believe he was a medalist in the Olympics. Gongora went and almost knocked out Christian Mbili at one point in that fight, though he lost and lost badly. He almost knocked out a power puncher in Christian Mbili. This really sets the tone. This division is so weak, Drew. We're talking about, will Canelo fight Berlanga? And Billy's a good choice. Will he fight Jaime Munguia again someday? Hey, throw this guy, Lester Martinez, in the mix. I'm telling you, a fight between him and somebody like Diego Pacheco is going to separate the contenders from the pretenders in the 168-pound division. Keep your eye on this Guatemalan guy. You know what's funny, Drew? I'm watching Pro Box, Polly and all them yap today. Chris Algieri says he's the best boxer from Guatemala. And Polly's like, the fuck has ever came out of Guatemala? What does that mean? I mean, like, no dig at Guatemalan people. He probably is the best Guatemalan fighter I've ever seen because they're not known for having a big boxing presence. But make no mistake, man, this guy's going to put himself on the map, Drew. Do you welcome somebody like this to that? A power puncher that can box, hit hard. I mean, like, that division really needs some new, fresh talent.
It's going to have to. Like, tell you the truth, I don't really consider Canelo really a part of that division. If you look at it, because I just don't see him as being part of the division much longer. And like, I really look at this right now. Besides Canelo, I think the second best super middleweight you could say is Caleb Plant.
Yeah,
in my
Drew.
opinion.
So the main event on Top Rank, guy, Pro Box TV on Friday night, which was free, guys, is Lamont Roach from DC. The 130-pound division used to be really good, but because everybody always talks about the lightweight division, it's been kind of, a lot of belts have been exchanged. In fact, Navarrete the Vaquero still has the WBO belt, even though he moved up to try his luck at 135 against Baranchek, the Ukrainian teammate of one of your favorite guys, Lomachenko. Dude, that division is up for grabs. You even have Oscar Valdez that is going to rematch Navarrete for his 130-pound title. You got Oshaki Foster, who just signed with Top Rank and will be fighting this weekend. I really don't know who's going to sit at the top of this division in the next 6 months to a year, Drew, but I think it involves Oshaki Foster fighting Lamont Roach Jr. at some point.
It could, but, we got to see how this plays out. You never know. One of these guys can move up.
Of course, right. We saw Navarrete get egregious and get a little greedy and go, I'm moving up to 135 too, where all the big money is at. But as it stands, this division is exciting. And it looks like this weekend we're going to see Conceição, the Brazilian fighter. That dude, in my opinion, probably could have got the nod against Navarrete. He gave Navarrete hell at 130. He's given Oscar Valdez hell at 130. He just always kind of seemed to come up short. But he also kind of fades in his fights. I've seen Oshaki Foster perform not that great and then just whip out of nowhere, have a Hollywood ending in the finish like he did in Mexico in Cancun. This is a really damn good fight. There's actually some pretty interesting fights on the Top Rank card this Saturday. And I'm just curious, man, who do you think takes that division at the end of the day?
It's really a toss-up. Like, I think Valdez is fading. Navarrete, I think the weight cut back down to 130 is going to affect him. I really think Navarrete is really fading also. Depending on how it is, Oshaki Foster might get this division by default.
He very well could be, man. It's going to be exciting. So speaking of Top Rank, let's get right on to Teofimo Lopez, man. It was great running into him. Our boy that watches our show was with me in January when we ran into Teofimo and his dad at the Virgin Hotel here in Las Vegas. And I got that interview with both of them. And of course, that's one of the best performing videos on the Shoe Shine's page as well. Finally, Dave talked to Teofimo Lopez. And Drew, he had an opportunity this weekend to, set the ship in the right direction because he had a really kind of a poor performance against Jermaine Ortiz. One in which we actually argued, did he get another gift in match?
I thought he got a gift. I thought Jermaine Ortiz won that fight.
A lot of people still think. You could watch that fight back. It was controversial, just like the Sandor Martin one. Another fight where, we could argue Teofimo got a gift there too.
He lost that fight too. It's like...
So we scratch our head. Like, damn, Steve Claggett, 7 losses. That's the guy you pick for a showcase fight. A guy with 7 losses. No discredit to him, and including that the Irish guy that fought Lamont Roach, Drew, he was outgunned. He wasn't on the same class level, probably never faced anyone as good as Lamont Roach. And again, Steve Clavitt, a Canadian, all respect to him, a very high output, but he wasn't going to hurt Teofimo. And Teofimo and his dad knew that when they picked him, that there was no way Steve Claggett was going to be a threat to hurt him at all on Saturday night.
But here's the thing. He wasn't able to hurt Steve Claggett either.
That's why we're here to talk about that. We're going to talk about that and the Nico Ali.
But here's the thing.
I need a grade assessment, Drew. I need your grade that you give Teofimo.
I look at this, man, and if you look and compare each of their faces, it looks like Teofimo was the one losing the fight.
He got touched. He got touched
a lot. And I don't care. Like, that dude's face looks a lot worse than Claggy's face. And Teo supposedly landed more punches, whereas I beg to differ. I think a lot of his punches touch glove and everything. The Teofimo cannot keep the dude off him.
Yeah. He likes that, though. I think, okay, finally, let's talk about what Jermaine Ortiz, that fight and that Jermaine Ortiz fight. Teo did poor because he had to basically be the guy on the front foot. And he couldn't do his thing as a counterpuncher.
He can't cut the weight off.
He picks the exact opposite. He picks a guy that fights in the Mexican style, but didn't have any pop. And so he got to tee off on the guy. Here we have a great example of him just teeing off, working his combinations. But to me, it was uninspired. It was uninspired work. It was like, man, I don't have to get out of second gear to beat this guy and get a decision. What we saw this weekend in the World Championship title fights with Lamont Roach and Bam Rodriguez are guys that don't want to just be content by pulling off a 12-round sparring match. Those guys came in to win in devastating fashion and put on a show and close the show.
If you want me to do an assessment on Teofimo is the most inconsistent fighter in boxing.
Okay.
There you go. Like, here's the thing. Both of Teofimo's eyes were swollen at the end of that fight.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of there in this picture where they were starting to close.
And this guy, Cragen, looked like he was barely touched and everything. His eyes weren't swollen. He probably had a little bit of a busted lip, but that was an awful performance. And let's look at it like this. We all know the weaknesses of Teofimo's game because he's not the same that fought Lomachenko. He's not the same fighter as fought Lomachenko. Ever since he beat Lomachenko, he's been too humble. And then he lost to Kambosos. And then after that, it's just inconsistently you'll think that, he easily beat Josh Taylor and everything. The OTP was better and everything. And then what happens? Sandor Martin outboxes him. Sandor Martin and got a gift decision. Even knocked him down. Should have been 2 times he got knocked down, but they get only credit him for once. Jermaine Ortiz, I boxed him, outlanded him, I threw him. I boxed him the whole night. He couldn't even fucking cut the ring off against that dude either. And got another gift decision. So they gave him somebody that would be tailor-made for him and everything. Couldn't hurt the dude. Took a lot of hits himself. And it just was really uninspiring. And my assessment of Teofimo is he's the most inconsistent boxer in boxing today. And what they said was right. If he plans to move to 147, he is no longer the puncher. He has to be the boxer. And I don't think he can become the boxer, Dave. I think he gets annihilated at 147. I think Stanionis beats him. I think Boots beats him.
Oh, yeah. Well, I agree on those two.
I'll be honest, I think Mario Barrios can beat him.
Well, Mario's got a lot of size. I've stood both next to those guys, and I'll say it again, man. Mario stands at nearly 6 feet tall, and there was no way I thought I stood next to him, that he was even 5'8", maybe at most 5'8". So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mario handles him.
Time timeout. I'm sorry, Dave, but I got a comment on Nando. Nando, when did I say that Claggett won that fight? If you listen, instead of trying to think that I'm being biased and everything, you would be able to hear that I said Teofimo. If you compare faces, it looked like Claggett won the fight, and Teofimo's losing the fight.
This is why I should have should have done the phone line tonight, and Drew and Nando could have gone at an old school way.
I talk really. That's the thing. I'm starting to call people out now, because if people don't listen to the whole thing before commenting, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit in my Peter Griffin voice and everything.
They might be trying to ruffle your feathers.
How the hell am I hitting at it? If I'm tell you the truth, how the hell am I hitting at it? No, I fucking scored it 10-2 Teofimo. So what's your point?
Actually, I don't even know if I could give Steve Claggett a single round, but at the end of the day, I can't give him more than a B-. I can't score that a B- or a B performance out of Teofimo, because Teofimo should have found a way to close the show, to remind everybody, look, I'm a champ at 140. And he's got to put it in everybody's mind, I'm the champ at 140. I don't even need to unify. I'm the best of the bunch. But as it stands, he doesn't really separate himself from that performance to be the best of the bunch. Let me remind you that there's two brand new champions in that weight division. Let's see. We had Puello just re-win his WBC title, or actually, no, he didn't have that title, but he just won the WBC title at the Tank Davis fight. And we have the guy Liam Paro. I don't know if he beats either of those guys. I'd like to see Paro. I'd like to see that fight against Paro and Teofimo. I think it's a very doable fight, and one that Teofimo should be saying, sign me up.
Look at it like this. Look at this. I'm going to go away from Nando's stupid statement and everything, but let's look at it like this. I think out of all of them, I think he can beat Pitbull Cruz, because Pitbull Cruz is tailor-made for him. But tell you the truth, that sneaky power from Pitbull might do some damage to Teofimo, but he doesn't beat Power. He doesn't. I don't even think he beats. What's the other guy's name? I forget the other guy's name.
There's Puello, is a Dominican fighter. He's very tall.
I don't think he beats him either.
Yeah, he definitely size-wise is going to be as a disadvantage against Alberto Puello. I think Paro and him might be just evenly matched.
I think Paro can pull it off, though. But I just don't. I think Pitbull's tailor-made for him, but Pitbull has that sneaky power because Teofimo can be touched. And I think people, if you're gonna pick that fight today, I probably would pick Pitbull Cruz to beat Teofimo. It's just,
I like the fight, man. If he's serious about it,
too much now, Teofimo. And I think if you look at it like this, I think Teofimo became a lazy fighter at the end of the day. Like, he tries to be too flashy. Here's the thing: your biggest problem is you can't cut the wing off. You went away from fundamentals, and and ever since he beat Lomachenko, he became too humbled, and it cost him. And then we thought that he finally got back to being focused and beat Josh Taylor the way he did. And what happened after that? He really looked bad. And and if you look at it, I just don't see him really being the guy in this division. I don't see him going to 147 if he chooses to and making any noise. I think he may get stopped at 147 by a couple guys. And we look at it, 147 is becoming more of a division now. And he said he wants to fight Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford eats him alive. It's not even close.
Yeah, he was asking for that fight. He definitely was asking for that. Hey, shout out to my boy Jimenez Video Productions on YouTube. He's doing his thing out there in Riverside and San Bernardino. Drew, Teofimo's performance, just a solid B-, B. He should have found a way to get Claggett out of there.
Not even a
C?
B minus. It's a C
Damn.
minus.
A
It's a C
C
minus,
minus.
borderline D, because he took too many fucking shots. And tell you the truth, like I saw something really unexpiring. He did not look good at all in this fight, and I'm being generous with a C minus because he did not. It looked unexpiring, and he took too many shots. His face looked like shit. He clearly won the fight on points, but he clearly took a lot of shots, and I
Yeah.
think people like really need to realize that it may be time for Teofimo to get a new trainer, to get somebody else to train him. His dad is not that guy to train him. His dad is really the main issue of his problems.
Well, Nando gives him a D, barely passing. All right. Well, there was another fighter on this that I was watching. This fight entertained me because it was a rematch, Drew. And I wasn't surprised when Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, when he took his first loss and he fought the same guy, a very short, compact middleweight guy that was like 5'8", mid-30s, beat him on the scorecards. It was a big shock. I think I was at that fight. I think it was on the Teofimo card. He got a chance to avenge his loss, and it was the strangest shit ever because apparently Nico's got a beef with Teofimo. He looked kind of like dog shit, even though he dropped the guy one time. The strangest thing about this Nico Ali Walsh fight is, prove me wrong, guys, but it's all over social media. His opponent looked like he was wearing 16-ounce sparring gloves. Drew, they're the biggest white fucking gloves I've ever seen in my life. Would you put it past a boxing commission or a promotion company to be like, man, he's got to wear the big gloves if you want this bag? You can't. Like, it was weird. Those gloves don't look right.
But the last round of that fight, he hurt his shoulder. That shoulder, so he was really fighting with one hand. So you can give him some type of consideration for fighting with one arm. And
No, I give him props. It was a lot of weird shit that happened in this Nico Ali Walsh. First of all, he does avenge his loss. I think he even barely using his only one hand in the sixth round of a 6-rounder. I think he pulled it off and he got the knockdown. But it was just a lot of strange shit. First of all, his shoulder comes out. So looks like it separated his shoulder, which is really strange for such a young fighter, in my opinion, at 23, unless he was hit, unless the guy just hit the shit out of him on that shoulder. I didn't see that, why it just came out in the middle of a fight. And then, like I said, the gloves were really suspicious. And to wrap up the interview, he's going after Teofimo, letting everybody know, look, man, I'm a real fighter. I could have made $1 million. Jake Paul wanted to fight me on my name and my name alone, and I didn't take that $1 million. And I'm confused why he thinks everybody's against him.
Here's the thing. He has a lot, he's learning on the job. We get it. He's learning on the job. But to tell you the truth, he hasn't really improved that much. He hasn't. It looked like a little bit in the early on in the fight. He was using his jab. He was trying to fight as a taller fighter and everything. Because he was the taller fighter, to keep him at bay, keep him at good distance. And then he just got away from it and everything. He wasn't disciplined enough. And, the gloves are very questionable. The gloves, you can say, are very, very questionable. We don't know. But, some guys fight with big gloves for some reason. In this fight, they didn't really give a fuck about what he came in with. But some fights, they let you fight between 10 or 12 ounce gloves. I don't know, but those gloves did look big for his hands. Or probably his hands are small as fuck. I don't know. But at the end of the day, people aren't against him. The only thing that people don't like, that they keep bringing up his name, Ali. And at the end of the day, you want the kid to build his own legacy. Not off of his grandfather's name, but off his name. And how can you do that when the skills don't match the name? Match the promotion. You gotta let the kid build off his own name. And the kid's gotta improve. And tell you the truth, is it the trainer? I don't know. Is it just, hey, he hasn't really had an amateur career? That can put a little thing to it, but I think some fighters actually pick it up and improve as the careers go on a little bit. But he's 11-1. It's eventually, when are you going to have a step up fight for him? Because it seems like Top Rank doesn't really have a long-term plan on how they're going to develop him. They just keep building up, he's Ali's son, and everything. But they're not really putting up a long-term plan on when are we going to have him step up and find a legitimate
damn, Drew. That's the conundrum at Top Rank and the excellent matchmakers, because not only do they have him, they also have the son of the great Fernando Vargas, and Emiliano Vargas is signed there, now 10-0, also fighting opposition that I just have to I have to keep it real. I don't see how you're going to continue to develop him when he's so overly matched against these inferior Tijuana type fighters. And he was on that card as well. Shout out to him. They're doing their thing, developing him. But at some point, that development, I think they got it right with the Puerto Rican kids that they have on their roster. I think they did fairly good.
They got it right with Xander. They're moving him along just fine. But another guy that I think they have an issue with stepping up is Rich Torres. And
I agree with you there too.
You got to get somebody that can get him some rounds and everything. That's the one thing about it.
Actually, Nando says Amato was on DAZN. I think it was Fernando Vargas Jr. It was the senior son, the oldest of the bunch, and he knocked out some guy in one round. And it's I know that all three of those brothers are extremely talented. But they're just going to have to start facing some better opposition. So we can start, already I saw an interview with Emiliano was saying, talking shit on Devin Haney, talking about don't be surprised when my prospect asks, whoops you. It's but I need to see you fight like the people Devin Haney's already. I need to see that before you start saying that you're going to whoop Devin Haney's ass.
Have to fight. They're going to have to start getting these Vargas kids to step up.
Exactly. Emiliano is the goods. Let the kid develop. Nerd, he definitely has the skill set. All three of those brothers are extremely talented, and that's why I think Top Rank made that exclusive deal with just Emiliano and his dad, because they're just the great scouts for talent. The criticism that I have is that sometimes I feel that Top Rank develops some of their talent too slowly, because from opponent to opponent, I want to see the opposition get increasingly tougher so you can bring out that skill set in the fighter to get to that next level. But then again,
if you look at it,
Dave is just a commentator on YouTube. I'm just an amateur. What do I know? I'm not matchmaking. But
here's the thing, Dave. I don't think Top Rank in general has a lot of confidence in Nico Ali long-term.
There I might agree with you.
I think they're a little sketchy with Rich Torres still, because he's a very undersized heavyweight. He hasn't gone to close to 4 or 5 rounds yet, and they got to figure out a way how to get him rounds and to step up the competition a little bit, because what is their plan for him? When is he going to start fighting guys in the top 15? And when is it because here's the thing, Dave, I told you a while ago, Rich Torres is better suited as a cruiserweight right now than as a heavyweight.
Or even, nobody wants to play in that bridgerweight division, but you bring up a good point. This weekend, UFC had that guy Pereira fight, a Brazilian. Did you know that guy melts down at 205 and then rehydrated to almost 30 pounds to basically 230 something, which is even more than Deontay Wilder weighed on Fight Night recently. That guy's melting down a cruiserweight. I think you're right that Richard Torres, he'd probably be, we're talking championship material, but he doesn't have any intent to melt down a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He could really be a contender. I think I could see him fighting Alpataya or any of those people. Nando says Keyshawn Davis is the biggest suspect. And by the way, that's That's awesome you're bringing him up because he is on the card this weekend. It's a very interesting top rank card. I think more interesting than the one that they just put out this weekend. So let's get on to Bam. Let's get 204 to 235 Wile E. Coyote. I think that's what the Pereira rehydrated. And when we talk about 25 pounds in boxing, but damn, almost 30 pounds. I don't even know how they do it, but they do it. He does it, and he's the champ. He's reigning champ in his division in the UFC. That being said, let's talk about the newest addition to the pound for pound rankings, Drew. And what I know not too many people favored the older champion. I think you had said you thought the older champion in Estrada would pull it off, but this is boxing is a young man's game. And if with 10 years apart, I find it very hard for a champion in their mid-30s who've been through war to beat the young upcoming lion. And that's, man, we were treated to a hell of a fight. Hands down. There is a rematch agreement. A rematch is potentially on the table. Bam is showing himself to be pound for pound. Remember, he moved up from 112 to 115 on a whim. That was his brother's division. By the way, you reminded me his brother recently retired. He won that title and then just gave it up and moved back to 112. Now he's back at 115 and basically wins the title back, the WBC super flyweight title at 115, setting up the stage. What he says is he wants to unify that division, Drew, and that means he's going to have to start facing the great Japanese fighters. Ioka and I believe this Argentinian fighter are fighting in a unification. So he's basically just one fight away from having 3 of the belt at 115. The question is, in my mind, that was a pound for pound performance to be able to do what he did to Estrada. And then even to come back from being dropped himself. Man, we were in for that fight was starting to get really, really good as it ended abruptly. Does Drew put him as a pound for pound fighter? Yeah,
I had him as pound for pound already. But here's the thing of that fight. I didn't think, other than the knockdown, I thought the fight was one-sided with Bam. I thought it was a one-sided fight. I don't understand the cards and everything. One had Gallo Estrada winning. One was a draw. I just don't understand that. I thought it was completely one-sided except for the knockdown and everything. I thought Bam won every round except for that knockdown round. But
yeah, I'm gonna agree with you flat out. And I'm glad you brought up that scorecards, Drew, because it's again, even the WBC Suleiman was like, man, we thought we did a good job with selecting these judges, and it looked like they were cooking up some funky scorecards.
But I look at it like this. Ioka is going to be a real difficult fight. I just pray to God he does not want to move up to 118 because I think Junto Nakatani destroys him.
Well, that's a great fight. I'm not going to lie. It's a fight that I can't wait to see. But I want to point out that at the end of this fight, it's on everybody's mind, and it already seems like a foregone conclusion that because Jesse Bam Rodriguez has mentioned anyway that that's the fight he wants. He basically told everybody that's a fantasy fight. Word for word, he said, it's a fantasy fight. I got a lot of things to do here. He just got to 115 again, and he wants to unify. And Drew, you just mentioned it, man, but this is one of the biggest killers out of Japan is Junto Nakatani at 118.
I don't think he beats Junto. I think Junto is a whole other beast.
115 to 122 is a stretch for small fighters. It's a stretch. It's something that's completely doable. Manny Pacquiao did it. Inoue has done it. Today, I'm calling Bam the real fucking Mexican monster. Why? Because I didn't see David Benavidez move up one weight class and become a monster in the next weight class. But I've already seen Jesse Bam Rodriguez do it, who started his career at 108 pounds. Can he do it? It's not going to be an easy task. But I believe it's entirely possible Jesse can eventually even take that 118 division.
If you look at it like this, I think Ioka and him is a 50-50 fight.
But I thought Sonny Edwards and him was a 50-50 fight. And man, was I tripping. Shout out to Sonny Edwards for getting back in the winning lane. I see that him and Bam have become really good friends. And that's the kind of shit I like to see in the sport of boxing. Two warriors that have been in the ring together and now they cool and have a mad respect for each other. It's a tough outing, but that kind of performance on Saturday just cemented in my mind that he is a pound for pound type fighter. Nando brought it up, man. That footwork, how he set up that liver punch. Chris Algieri has a fantastic analysis, Drew. He had to do a Lomachenko pivot. He threw that left shot to the liver, but it didn't land flush. So he ends up pivoting his footwork and is able to land it completely flush on his second try. Honestly, so he countered. It's fantastic. It's a thing of beauty. He literally is like the little Mexican Lomachenko, but with power to match.
Like if we look at it like this, it's really a shame that these big names in the lower weight classes are old, because people are gonna knock on them and say, "Yo, his biggest wins are against old, out of prime fighters." Estrada can still bang.
Yeah,
Estrada is still, even though like in the division, in the small weight classes, the older fighters are not. They go faster. We can admit that, but it's a shame that his signature win is a 34-year-old Estrada, no champion, an out of prime Wonderside. There was 2 signature wins right there.
And Cuadras, also a battle-worn Mexican fighter.
Yeah.
He does have that win over Sonny Edwards, who I think is a very prime fighter at 112. But it is just what it is. At that weight class, the guys that are still in their prime are going to be fighting each other. I said Ioka and then this Argentinian fighter, Martinez, they're going to be unifying, and he'll get a chance to unify with them and then make his decision whether or not he wants to go for all 4 titles or move up to 118 to fight the likes of Nakatani. He worked extensively with Chocolatito in this camp at 118. There's even a potential match. Maybe he fights the great Chocolatito if the money's right.
I wouldn't want to see that fight. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't want to see that fight. Like, it just doesn't intrigue me now, man. Like, why would I want to see Bam fight another old guy? Like, I think, Bam. If we're gonna be on 100, I want to see Bam fight the young lions in this division now. Get these guys, these champions that are in their prime, and beat them. Cement your legacy. Like being these older guys, people are gonna dispute that. They say, "Yo, you fought guys that are out of the prime and got their belts and everything," and that's the one thing Bam has against them right now when it comes to that. Other than that, he has a chance to be special. But until he's got to I would go after guys, the young lions, and beat them and unify. And then if I want to step up and fight Junto Nakatani, go ahead and do it. But I just don't see him beating Junto Nakatani.
Well, there's definitely some height. Nerd addresses here. Why does anyone call Junto Nakatani a weight bully? Dude is 5'8" at 112. Then he ducked the 115 division for the easy belt at 118. And even 5'8" is a tremendous height for that weight class. But we just saw that guy, the featherweight Rafael Espinoza, who's like 6'1" at fighting at featherweight. I mean, I'd like to call him a weight bully too, but it is what it is. They allow that in boxing. There's no height restrictions so long as you can make the weight class, just like Fundora. Really, Fundora looks like, he's an emaciated 6'4", 6'5" beast at that division. Nonetheless, man, I can't wait to see where the direction for Bam's career is going to go. Obviously, I'd like to see him become undisputed at 115 and then eventually move up to 118 and fight all the great Japanese fighters. There's a ton. I think there's currently, I believe, 2 or 3 champions at 118 that are from Japan. They got that division on lock. All roads lead to Inoue, but is it too early? I think it's way too early to.
It's way too early. Here's the thing. I think Inoue destroys him. Inoue annihilates Bam.
Well, he's got some time on him. Inoue's nearly 30 or 30. He's 30 something.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it to Inoue, but if he ever was to try to fight Inoue, I think Inoue destroys him. Inoue is just too goddamn big and is too goddamn good.
Or he might age him out. I mean, Inoue, Leonardo Donaire gave Inoue in his first fight the best fight in that a late 30-year-old fighter could do. Maybe eventually they will fight. Maybe it'll be Inoue that'll be at the end of his career in his mid-30s. Entirely possible.
Like, let's look at it like this. I think the best guy in the lower weight classes is Inoue. That dude sets up a lot of good fucking traps. Like, he's very underrated with ring IQ and everything. How to set up traps for fighters and everything. He really is somebody that I believe I think he retires unbeaten unless he tries to move up like the 135 or something and everything. But I just don't. I think Bam should stay as far away from Inoue as possible. And I think Bam's ceiling should be 122. I don't think Bam should go no higher than 122.
Speaking of, Nando says Inoue does get caught occasionally, and obviously he was handed his first knockdown of his professional career in his last fight, kind of a flash knockdown. Also, Bam Rodriguez, for the first time in his professional career, also suffering from a flash knockdown. And what intrigued me the most about that, Drew, is that he said, damn, I always wondered what it'd be like to get knocked down, and now I know, and I'm going to make sure that shit never happens again. He's lucky it was a flash knockdown, but like you said, Drew, I had him up on that scorecard winning every round except for the one where he got dropped, a flash knockdown. So those scorecards, again, there was some funny shit on them scorecards, guys. Go look these up on social media or just Google them, because it just seems like there's always, week to week, there's some funny shit going on with judges and officiating in the sport of boxing.
I don't know, the fix was in.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's get to this weekend, Drew. That, like I said, there is some really good fights. There's some top ranked fights that feature a bunch of people. But should we be that excited? It's Shakur Stevenson fight week, Drew. This is the last fight on his contract with Bob Arum. Bob Arum reportedly a couple of weeks ago said, man, I think, Shakur, you might want to start shopping around the open market and see if anybody's interested in signing you. Maybe, maybe you should test out the free agent waters. If that's not a slap in the face that I'm not trying to renew your contract, I don't know what is, dude. Shakur Stevenson is fighting the guy, Artem. I seen Artem fight because I seen him fight Frank Martin at the Cosmopolitan. That's who he's fighting. Then you got Shaki Foster recently signed fighting Robson Conceicao, the former Olympian. That's going to be a close fight. And then we got, remember we were on a podcast with him? We got Keyshawn Davis. We was on a pot. He's winning that fight. That's easy. But should we be excited about Shakur Stevenson? He says He said that Drew, I was watching the documentary on the lead up. They got the Top Rank. Should we be excited because somebody sent this to me? This is Shakur Stevenson fight week. This is Shakur Stevenson fight week. I mean, if anybody's going to put an audience to sleep, he's proven it on primetime ESPN free network television, which is why Bob Arum has said, hey, man, we might have to be parting ways. It was a good run, but maybe it's time for you to explore other options.
It's like this. The pressure is so much on Shakur Stevenson because he is not auditioning just for Bob Arum to give him another contract, but he is auditioning for every other promoter out there to look spectacular, to possibly knock this dude out and everything. Because if this is another snooze fest, people are gonna look at it and say, "Why the fuck are we can't sign you, dude?" And then Bob has the leverage. Bob's gonna be like this. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. I'm possibly gonna put you on a 1-fight deal. And I'm probably going to give you the fight you want. And fight you want is Loma, right? I'll give you the Lomachenko fight. And tell you the truth, I think this is to get the WBC belt off him. Send him on his way. Because I don't think he beats Lomachenko. I just don't think he beats him. If we look at it, when he was fighting that last guy he fought and everything, you've seen holes in his game that people can really take over with him and everything. I think Shakur Stevenson is really in a desperate situation, and it could backfire. It could get him caught by a punch in this fight.
Nando says this might be the most entertaining Shakur fight. Dude is fighting for a contract, LOL. But Drew, if Bob had an intent to make that fight materialize in-house, which seems like a no-brainer, Shakur versus Lomachenko, then why are they actively negotiating Lomachenko to fight Tank Davis? Because it kind of implies to me that he really ain't trying to make that fight in-house. He thinks the bigger fight for Loma is to fight Tank. Which kind of leads me to believe
we already got that. I got that.
It leads me to believe that he's gonna set Shakur on his ways. He's gonna it's time to fly away, little bird. It's time to fly away. It's time to set sail on your own. We'll see. Can he knock out Artem? I'm gonna tell you this. I seen Artem fight, and he gave Frank Martin a lot of problems. But that's not saying much. Frank Martin's a guy that got started late in boxing in his career. The thing with Artem. He ain't got the power to hurt Shakur. So you got two boxers, boxer versus boxer, and you're just not going to beat the better boxer in Shakur Stevenson. So he's going to have to really make effort to go out of his way to hurt Artem, because Shakur has a tendency of fighting to the level of like, hey, if you're a boxer, I'll just outpoint you. I'll just go back to my ways. I'll just outpoint you, which could be a boring night. A hard pass, says Nerd.
It's like this. First of all, Nando, we got your statement cut and paste a long time ago because you're a cut and paste guy. We know you're a cut and paste guy because you're saying the same shit all the time and everything. But I really think Shakur is gonna the pressure's on him to show up and actually fight. He pulls this. If he pulls a snooze fest, he's putting all the leverage in these promoters and everything. Like, if we look at it, tell you the truth, Zepeda is untested. He is untested also. So thank God we got Zepeda. He's untested also. So if we're gonna
Maxie Hughes wasn't a test.
Tell you the truth, he's untested still.
Wow, he's gonna fight. So do you want to get onto that? Because that is the next fight. Nando says, thank God for Zepeda. Well, like I said, the card is pretty decent. You're gonna get to see Oshaki Foster defend his title against an Olympian. You get to see Keyshawn Davis's development. But let's get on to this fight.
Thing, Dave. When Oscar wanted to make the fight with him, when Bob wanted to make the fight with Shakur and Zepeda, it was Zepeda's side that backed off. So, thank God we got Zepeda. Oh my God, thank God we got Zepeda. I don't give a fuck about Zepeda until he beats a top 5 fighter in this division. This motherfucker needs to step up now.
Drew, Zepeda is the mandatory for every champion at the lightweight division. Zepeda is ranked number 1.
He should. Here's the thing. He should have been fighting one of those fights for when Devin Haney vacated all those belts and everything. And look at it like this. He was mandatory in a couple of those sanctioning bouts. He was like in the top 2, and he should have got a fight, but he declined. So he's mandatory now in almost every sanctioning body.
Well, let's talk about Giovanni Cabrera, the Chicago Chicano from I remember there's a lot of great fighters that have come out. In fact, I remember there was another Mexican-American fighter out of Chicago that came out. Giovanni Cabrera all but had given up on his professional boxing career before he met somebody that introduced him to someone in Las Vegas. He drove out to Vegas. The next thing you know, he's going to the Wild Card Gym and became Manny Pacquiao sparring partner. It's a change of life. His whole life, he was about to give up on his boxing career. Drew finds himself, like I said, during the pandemic in the Wild Card Gym, and Manny Pacquiao liked him so much, he hired him to become a sparring partner for his camp. And the rest, hey, so far it's been a good ride. He got Cabrera's biggest opponent is Pitbull Cruz, a fight in which he gave Pitbull Cruz all that he could handle. And unlike Rolly Romero, made it out of that fight. He's got that one loss on his record. You guys want to see Zepeda challenge? He is the mandatory. Not even Keyshawn Davis will fight him. So he's got to fight Giovanni Cabrera.
Look, Keyshawn Davis, I'm going to be honest. Keyshawn Davis, somebody I don't care for. Because, to tell you the truth, I don't think he beats really anybody at 135.
So, like I said, he can't. Zepeda can't even get Keyshawn Davis into the ring, but he is getting Cabrera in, a guy who is pretty damn durable, Drew. And the thing is, will Zepeda get a stoppage against a guy like Cabrera? Pitbull Cruz couldn't do it. What does Cabrera need to do? More importantly, what does Zepeda need to do to impress one of the champions like Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson? What has he got to do to impress them to get him in the ring?
Cabrera could time him. That's the one thing Cabrera can do. And I think Cabrera is really going to have to time him in that volume. If he can time him and get some counter shots in, we might have a fight on our hands.
So Zepeda has been dropped, guys. Go back and look that up, man. He walked into a shot against a Mexican fighter that was relatively unknown. I remember that night. I was high on William and Camarón Zepeda. I'm like, dude, this guy's going to be a champion in this division. And then on a just random night, he walked into a shot and he got hurt.
He looked like shit that night, too.
He didn't look too good that night, and he had to recover and really fight back to pull off that win. But ever since then, shit, it's been easy sailing for the guy. He broke the record for lightweights, most punches thrown by a lightweight. And, Steve Claggett has that kind of Claggett, who just fought Teofimo. He's on a list of records thrown for punches too, but that didn't really mean shit. It only means shit if you're doing it against somebody elite. This weekend, we're going to find out again if William Camarón Zepeda is elite. I saw him fight in Las Vegas. I'm excited to see him. I got him by majority decision. I don't think he's knocking out Giovanni Cabrera, but that's my take. I got Shakur Stevenson winning by decision. Drew, do you think he pulls off the stoppage? You think Stevenson can do this?
I'm getting my pillow and my teddy bear ready for this fight.
Yeah. Is it East Coast? I think that's on the East Coast. So at least Drew, it won't be too late, because if he was fighting in Vegas, you might have to watch Shakur Stevenson at 1 a.m.
If we look at it, I'll probably be asleep in the second round watching Shakur Stevenson fight. Like, seriously. Like, here's the thing, man. Shakur has done so bad for himself and, uninspiring performances and everything. He's going to end up like Regendale, man. He's going to be too defensive in a fight, and it's going to cost him. He's going to get nailed or something. It's just really, he's going to end up like that. Like, somebody's got to tell him, yo, you got to be able to create traps. He doesn't create traps. Like, pure boxers create traps for guys, for punchers, to get them to go after them so they can counterpunch and everything. Be able to cut the wing off and everything. But, I'll be honest, if Shakur can put his mind to it and everything, I think if he'll be able to time Zepeda and beat him and everything. But, I think that if you look at it, the volume punching don't always help. If you can time the volume puncher and everything, you take the puncher's best weapon out. And that's, when Zepeda hasn't had that done to him yet to figure out, hey, what's my plan B and everything. Zepeda hasn't been born to plan B yet. Once he gets born to have to come up with a plan B and everything, we're trying to find out the real Zepeda and everything. But as of right now, we're going to look at it as if he can't knock this guy out, or this guy gives him problems a little bit, then people are going to start talking and everything. But Shakur, I think if we're going to look at it, I really think that depends on how Shakur performs this weekend, is to figure out who Tank Davis is going to fight next. Because you might have a big advantage as an A side if you decide to bring Shakur to PBC to fight you.
Food for thought. Food for thought. If anybody else thinks that Shakur and Tank Davis make good opponents, let me know, man. Drop that comment after the show or drop it in the chat now. Drew, any final thoughts on who wins?
What?
Shakur? Does he win by stoppage or decision?
He wins by decision. I just don't see enough for him to do that and everything. So, like, if we look at it, Shakur's is going to be a snooze fest. And if Shakur finally, there's going to be a time where Shakur fucking goes after somebody and he gets caught. That's something that you got to look forward to eventually. He's going to eventually get caught. And I tell people, man, like, if you're gonna depend on Shakur's performance, you're gonna see you're gonna know who's fighting who's next.
I heard that.
And so,
all right, guys, it's been a blast. I appreciate everybody rocking with the Shoe Shine every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We might do a second show this week, so stay tuned. Make sure you hit that bell button on your notifications and that you're subscribed. I'm Dave in the 702. Until then, peace out, everybody. Thanks for joining us.